Could Darth Vader take down Thanos? Now, this is honestly a crazy battle. A lot of people don't know this, but Darth Vader is a savage. Like, if you guys read the comics, Darth Vader is a savage. But of course, if you read the comics, Thanos is also a savage. So, Seth, the programmer, please explain who wins because I honestly don't know. I want to side with Vader, but Marvel will be having some crazy stuff.
Mad Titan and Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, both iconic movie villains with a similar objective of capturing the hearts of the community and creating an imposing antag that can actually win in their movies. They both have a similar energy, with Thanos' MCU counterpart almost being designed specifically to capture what made Darth Vader special. That impressiveness, the intimidation, the respect, their power. So I thought it would be very, very fitting to actually just have them go at it. So let's get into it.
Speaking of Star Wars, today's
Ad
sponsor
time.
is
I don't want a lightsaber.
The Mad Titan in his base scales above the likes of Thor, as in Endgame he was able to batter and bloody Thor, which was stated to be the strongest
And the
version
stronger,
of the Avenger by the film's directors. And in the previous movie, and without the power of the godly weapons Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, Thor was able to endure a blast from a neutron star. While many might hear Atreus' statement saying Thor would endure a star's full force, in reality the maximum output a star can produce isn't actually star level. To fall within that range, it would have to involve something like the entire star detonating or exploding on top of Thor, and Thor absorbing all of the energy, not just like 6 feet of his surface area, but all of the energy condensed into his body. It's sort of like the difference between being hit by a car and the car spontaneously combusting with someone inside of it. That said, the blast has been calculated to be within the ranges of 855 gigatons of force. Again, this is a weaker Thor than the likes of his Endgame variant, and didn't even have his 2 weapons with Thor, only deeming one of them essential to even trying to match Thanos with the gauntlet. So it's safe to say that by Endgame, and considering for how long Thor endured this amount of force, it would be fair to place Thanos' durability and attack power in the ranges of people that can survive enough energy to destroy small countries. But with the Infinity Stones, Thanos' power output would actually enter more into planetary ranges, or the ability to destroy a planet beyond its gravitational binding energy.
I wouldn't doubt
as even
it, man.
The Power Stone is actually shown alone to wipe out planets. We do know, however, that Thanos can actually crank up or wind down the strength of this stone, as he was seen increasing its force as he tortured Thor in Infinity War. Regardless, if Thanos was acting without restraint, he would possess basically planet-busting power. When acting in tandem, the stones actually empower each other as well, making it greater.
And the gauntlet on top of it makes them all stronger.
So his strength would only be higher, with the combined gauntlet obviously being capable of remaking the universe down to its last atom, as stated in Endgame. Being able to keep up with and combat most of the Avengers, with many of said heroes having battled each other at various points, Thanos' speed would scale off of pretty much any primary character in the MCU or in the verse. He's shown reacting to Captain Marvel, who performs many massively hypersonic feats in her solo movie, as well as Endgame.
I never saw it. You tell me. Ain't nobody seeing that snooze fest.
He defeats Spider-Man, who can dodge many electro-fired lightning blasts after they've been fired in quick succession throughout No Way Home, and he's even capable of blocking Carol Danvers' photon beams while in a weakened state. Photons basically being the principal matter making up light, therefore moving probably or implied to be similar speeds. There's definitely a range here, with multiple avenues one could go with. The most consistent lane would see Thanos at around relativistic to light, or around 50% of the speed of light, which would fall in line with Thanos' own feat of calling down chunks of a moon, or Titan's moon, as seen in Infinity War, with maybe room for speeds closer to or a bit above the speed of light, depending on how far you want to highball the MCU speed. That covers Thanos' basic stats, and now I'll cover his more complicated abilities later. But for now, let's
the comic ones, not this MCU, the Marvel comic universe.
Move on to Darth Vader.
Crazy.
Vader, accounting for his strongest form
Disney
prior
canon?
to his confliction against Luke in Return of the Jedi.
I don't know the difference between the Disney canon, but I know Legends canon. Whole nother beast, bro. Whole nother beast.
Jedi. A good feat to start off with is seen where in one of the comics, Vader was able to manipulate and seemingly nullify the damage of multiple torpedoes as they attacked his TIE fighter. This is impressive as
torpedoes
similar
that take
torpedoes
down,
were able to damage and shake a heavy cruiser, whereas asteroids cause no effect against crafts of this kind, meaning these torpedoes that Vader can just toss around and apparently null enough of their explosions to leave his craft undamaged, produce more energy than asteroids, with this feat in particular being calced at around a gigaton of force. However, there's actually more to it, as Vader is called the Empire's greatest and deadliest weapon multiple times over.
Yes.
Taking this at face value, this would place Vader above even the...
Yeah, face value stronger than the Death Star, but come on, bro. The Death Star, if that laser shot straight at Vader and all he had was a force in his lightsaber, I don't see him stopping the Death Star, bro. No. No.
The Death Star, the super weapons explosions yielding
No.
star levels of
No.
energy, as seen when it completely...
No, bro. No, if Vader was... No. No, bro.
Again, I want to say that Vader
Face
is called
value,
the most
yeah,
powerful
sure.
weapon in
Sure.
the Empire multiple times.
Sure,
He's
yeah.
called stronger than Star Destroyer, very
Yeah.
blatantly.
Okay, yeah, stronger than the Star Destroyer, but we seen Starkiller pull down a fucking Star Destroyer too. Even though, yeah, it was coming from orbit, blah, 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 blah. He still pulled the shit, okay? He still pulled it, and Vader is stronger than him. Well, until the ending, but whatever. I don't see him taking on the Death Star. No. Star Destroyer, sure. Death Star, no.
In the novel, so there's a precedent for these statements as being just flat out literal. Vader
Kylo
even
stronger than
scoffs at the
Starkiller
Death Star.
base. I mean, that's fine. Like I've seen these Sith Lords and these Jedis take down giant ships before. Taking down the Death Star, there's a reason why they've only used ships to take down the Death Star.
Are in A New Hope itself, as many point out. However, many detractors might point to how no Sith or Jedi has ever come close to destroying a planet in Star Wars canon, so maybe you could just argue it's talking about the intimidation factor or more of the infantry factor of how...
It's most likely talking about just a weapon as in, hey, go and do this, and he can get it done effectively with like precision. If I told you to go take down a base and you used the Death Star. Damn, I can't think. If I told you to go take down a base and you used the Death Star, cool, you took out the base, but you also took out a whole bunch of shit that I actually wanted. If I tell you take out that base and you sent Darth Vader, he's taking out the base. That's it. Everything else I can take. So, like, yeah, the bigger weapon doesn't mean it's the best weapon. You know, the best tool for the job type of motto, right? Something like that.
How Vader can intimidate or attack individuals more so than the lack of precision the Death Star has. But in actuality, Force users work a lot like Key Fighters in Dragon Ball, with the power behind their attacks being contained in the surface area of their strikes or saber swings. I've had to explain...
And they can amp it through the Force.
Concepts like key control and suppression many times throughout the years and across many videos on my channel.
And you're not going to do it this time? Or are you going to do it again regardless?
I'm sure many of you have heard it. And the same essentially applies to Star Wars. They don't actively have the range to destroy an entire planet, even if the force behind their strikes are comparable to the amount of energy required to do so. It's more like, imagine someone survived the Death Star shooting them and the planet they were on exploded and they somehow lived. It's more so saying Vader could also defeat or damage that guy that survived that attack, as crazy as that sounds. So Palpatine would still see value in a super weapon like the Death Star, even if Vader or himself has the attack potency surpassing it, or could damage people that could even survive it somehow. Speaking of Palpatine, a fatigued Vader was able to survive for a time against Sidious's full power Force Lightning in Return of the Jedi, with the main
lightning being his elemental weakness, so it was doing 2 times the damage and he was still holding it.
Reason for his death arguably being due to his failing life support rather than his lack of durability. Again, Vader was conflicted against Luke and therefore weakened, was then beaten down by his son, all before sustaining Palpatine's full Force attacks. In the comics, we actually see that Palpatine can empower and control a wealth of Kyber crystals that go on to power the Sith fleet, and each ship is as powerful as the Death Star. Yeah, not joking.
Wow.
So Vader then
Did not know
takes
that.
this power and likely being able to outright survive.
Is that still canon or is that gone? Like, I don't know if Disney is still doing that.
If not for all his injuries, definitely might put him at that level of power if you were to take it that way. And I do think it is somewhat supporting evidence, but I'm curious, what do you guys actually think? Do you agree? Do you think, you know, he did take power that is stronger than empowering an entire fleet?
I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it's two different powers. I don't know. Like, the one is using force lightning, the other is just using raw force, right? It's like the difference in, damn, was this on me the whole time? I'm sorry, guys. I'm not restarting the video though. It's like the difference between damage in like a Bloodborne or in a Dark Souls. Like, there's a difference between puncture damage and blunt damage. You know, one is better for certain types of enemies and different types of things. So I don't know if you could say, oh,
Stronger.
The Force Lightning was super powerful, and his force moves are also super powerful that can destroy whatever stronger than Death Star. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's the same.
Than the Death Star.
Personally, I don't think
it does seem somewhat likely. The Lord of the Sith being stated to have all the power of the dark side against Yoda, as well as while he sends his spirit from outside of his body to Exegol during Return of the Jedi. Seeing as the Force is stated to permeate and bind all things, almost like the concept of order itself, and the dark side being half of the Force, it's likely that this energy can be found all throughout the universe as it binds all things. According to the movie's famous title crawl, as well as evidence that Earth is canon to the Disney timeline, I'm not joking, officially, Disney World Star Wars attractions are canonical, including Star Tours, which sees passengers from Earth flying across the Star Wars galaxy. So, as goofy as it sounds, there's actual evidence to say that the models of our universe are applicable to Star Wars. So the dark side of the Force likely binds half of either an infinite static universe or an ever-expanding one, meaning an unfatigued Vader would in all likelihood be able to withstand multi-galactic or even maybe universal level attacks, as insane as that sounds, if you take the Force binding the universe as literal and Palpatine controls half of that energy. In terms of speed, Vader enhances his reaction time via the Force, allowing him to react to and deflect lasers in the form of blaster bolts, lasers moving at the speed of light. Certain people downplay blaster bolt speed to miserable levels based on calculating the distances they cross on screen or cinematic timing. However, these arguments can be ignored as they seem ignorant to the nature of cinematic timing and so on. Movies, anime, comics, and pretty much every form of media exist to present and show things to the audience that they'd never be able to see in the real world. So attempting to limit things in fiction in this nature is missing the point entirely. In real life, you would never be able to even see these things flying.
It would just happen.
At best, you might see blurs or after images, but it wouldn't be nearly as exciting or visually telling. Blasters are stated to just fire lasers, and
it's like when you sorry, I'm sinking. This chair is bad. I'm about to buy a new chair. Anyways, it's like whenever you play Call of Duty and you see like all the muzzle flashes and you see the tracer rounds go out, and then you watch actual combat on YouTube and you just see people ducking and you see like just dust moving around and you're like, where's the bullets? You're not going to see the bullet unless it's a tracer. In other words, it's not exciting or interesting. And that's the reason why Call of Duty, every single bullet is a tracer and not just, oh, where am I getting hit from? It's invisible. Dead.
Lasers move at the speed of light, and we as an audience can perceive them at the point of fiction is to observe larger-than-life concepts and scenes. Vader and his nephew Kylo have as well been able to react to and dodge objects while moving in hyperspace, which allows massively faster than light space travel.
That's
pretty
crazy.
Objectively. Even Han Solo in Force Awakens can time and stop the Falcon as it exits hyperspace before smashing into Starkiller Base. So even these fictional humans from another galaxy scale to the speeds of hyperspace, with Vader obviously being far faster. Now you could just say Han maybe just like tries to stop it in advance, and by the time he does, you know, he exits hyperspace based on his opinion of when it's going to happen, but you get the idea.
Han's a beast, man. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
With both Thanos and Vader's stats on the table, it's pretty easy to see that the Dark Lord has the edge over the Mad Titan. Compare Thanos' country-level feats against Thor, and even his planet-level power with the...
I'm not gonna lie, I think you just highballed the hell out of Vader.
Power Stone versus Vader's star-level destructive force as a mid-end. You also got to remember, as well for Vader, that
Or maybe it's a low ball because he did like slay a freaking dragon. Man, that's crazy.
Lords back in the day did consume planets in a lot of media, and Vader is probably above them. So it is actually a little bit more consistent than you'd think. Speed-wise as well, Thanos is only nearing light speed when being generous, whereas the most bog standard weapons in Star Wars are light speed, and Vader reacts to them dozens at a time, not to mention his scaling to hyperspace. Against base endgame Thanos, Vader likely blitzes and one-shots him. But what if we gave the Avengers' greatest foe his ultimate weapon, the Infinity Gauntlet? We'd probably have to highball his speed as well, maybe conflating Captain Marvel's massively faster than light travel speed to how fast she could throw a punch, and scaling Thanos to that. In that case, Vader has a lot more you'd have to deal with in terms of strange abilities he's never really seen before. One such ability is the outright manipulation of time via the Time Stone, which can pause or even reverse the time of specific people or objects. There isn't much to say Vader would resist or defend against this attack. Also, this ability worked on the likes of Dormammu, who is basically an outside dimensional entity that would consume universes. So very unlikely that Vader outscales it really at all. Likewise, regarding the Reality Stone, Thanos could turn his cybernetic limbs into putty or even just warp Vader's body or lightsaber outright, and the Mind Stone shouldn't be all that much for Vader, as for one, its abilities beyond shooting a beam of energy haven't been officially presented in the film, so we don't know what they do, and Force users have rather good mental resistances. Vader was able to reject and block out the influence of another Sith, Darth Momin, whose helmet was pretty much able to completely possess multiple individuals instantly. On that note, though, while Vader is famously a master of force-based mind reading and mental attacks, Thanos likely actually has a resistance of these abilities, seeing as he could still think and talk while under the influence of Mantis's powers. The Guardian even straining under what she called Thanos' very strong mind, Mantis was able to influence the mind of Ego even towards the end of
let me know about Mantis's mental ability, because I mean, it seemed like it was working until, you know, Jackass started punching him in the face.
Guardians 2, when the Celestial wasn't willingly giving into her powers, and Celestials are some of, if not the most powerful group of entities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with their creation of stars across the entire universe. So that's a big advantage that Vader typically possesses that he may very well lack against Thanos. Overall, granting the Mad Titan relative speed to the admittedly faster Vader would grant him abilities that would prove extremely difficult for Vader to work around, but it's not impossible. Vader possesses some of the best precognition in Star Wars, as his abilities in this field warranted his introduction into the Jedi Order even as an untrained child. He would know what Thanos was going to do before he ever does it every step of the way. It's worth making the distinction that while Spider-Man as well possessed precognition, it was in much more novice form than even a young hero would come to master later in his career. Only after Far From Home was he able to truly take full advantage of this ability, and in Vader's case, it would be instrumental in any kind of victory he may be able to pull against Thanos. Doctor Strange states that the main goal when on Titan was to prevent Thanos from closing his fist, as the Titan would then be able to call on the stone's powers, having the foresight to see how dangerous these weapons are. Vader could go straight for his telekinesis, holding Thanos' hand open, and in the Fallen Order video game, Vader was able to halt 151,000 tons of water with his force powers, with the Incredible Hulk, someone who Thanos was able to overpower, halting a Leviathan yielding around 33.
Hey Seth, whenever you get your gameplay footage, make sure you get it from Gamers Little Playground.
That's 151,000 tons of water, with Leviathan yielding around 33,000 tons. This is the amount of force these respective characters have been shown to lift, meaning Vader's telekinetic grip would be 4.5 times stronger than Thanos' shown lifting strength. Even if hypothetically he could lift more, we haven't seen it. Meaning if Vader doesn't want Thanos' hand closed, it's probably not happening, and he wouldn't be able to use the stones in the gauntlet. This depends on how quickly Vader would catch on to the gauntlet's weakness. However, this is more than likely considering Vader's level as a master combatant and strategist, as well as the fact that using the gauntlet is Thanos' whole thing, basically, and his only real advantage. In conclusion, Vader is far stronger and faster than Thanos, with only a few win conditions he could exploit against the strange and overpowered abilities of the Infinity Gauntlet, with Vader's best chance is if his skill and precognition could circumvent its powers, rather than actually being able to put up a front against the Infinity Stones themselves. It's not impossible for Vader to edge out a victory, depending on how super optimized for victory we're assuming he'd be for the fight, or how much we control him to be optimal in the way he goes about it. It's just not as likely for him to win if he's totally in character and trying to like Goku Thanos and test his ability in something. Things such as warping time or reality aren't that present in Star Wars canon. Stands in the uber high tiers like the ones who Vader never has to contend with outside of his extreme power boost on Mortis. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. A big shout out to Crisis and Key Issues Garrick for...
That is dope. Great video by Self. Yeah, I mean, I figured Vader would win, but I don't know. I thought Seth would have used like the Marvel, like OG Thanos. But I mean, of course, MCU is like the most popular Thanos now for obvious reasons. So it will make sense. But yeah, I already knew Vader was OP. But I mean, he even pulled out stuff I didn't even know. Like I didn't know the Emperor had like the Force crystal stronger than the freaking Death Star. Like I didn't know that. That's crazy. But awesome video. What do you guys think? Darth Vader or Thanos? I still think Vader, but I don't know. Maybe OG comic Thanos will win because the comic books are crazy, but the Star Wars comic books are also crazy. So I don't know if we get into Legends. I don't know, but it's your boy Miz. Comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.